the game was different, right? The rules was different. The ball was different.
The Euro style is different in America.
The Euro style was a lot different than America.
That's the first time y'all seen that Euro step too, huh?
Absolutely.
Hi, I'm Jordan Spencer, point guard. I graduated from Augustana University in 2018 and been currently playing professionally for 2 years now.
Nice, Jordan. Great to have you. Just so that everyone, obviously I know you a little bit, so just to let everyone know, where are you from?
From Milton Keynes, England.
Nice. As I said, glad to finally have this sit down and talk with you. Yes, it's been looking forward to this one. Just to start us off, how and why did you choose your school?
Being brutally honest, I didn't have many options. So going through the whole process, I had to do a lot of it myself. So I applied to like nearly every D1 school in the country, sent my resume, like highlights, all that kind of stuff. Was talking to a couple schools, but nothing really materialized. Mm-hmm. And then I happened to go to a camp in England, in Bury St Edmunds. They have a program there with Coach Darryl. And I went there for a camp, and it was a junior college coach, D2 coach, and an Icelandic professional team coach. So I had some teammates that went, like Blaine Freckleton and Kevin Moyer and guys like that. We just went along for the camp. Mm-hmm. It was a couple of days and whatnot. And then, after that camp, the coach, the D2 coach, just offered me there and then. He was like, look, if you want to come on a full ride to our school, then we'd love to have you. Because it was in the summer, it was in June. So I was like trying to get to school. But then in the end, I had to wait until the next semester. So I ended up getting there in January. So I had no visit, no communication with the coaches, nothing like that. It was just kind of just got kind of offered right there and then. And my idea was to get into the American system, like even if it's D2 and then like play well or whatever, then transfer. But obviously we'll get into more detail, but that didn't happen. And it was probably the best thing.
Nice. And you know what's interesting, doing all these talks and talking to individuals, there's a lot of, I guess there's a lot of legwork done by the individual. So, there's, kids go to programs and, they expect, let's say a Charnwood or a Maestro, just to promote them and that's it. But there's a lot of guys that have to do their own work, have to do their own emailing and sourcing and stuff. So I think that's really pretty interesting. I get asked a lot of times, how's the best way to go? What program should I go to? And it doesn't matter, it doesn't matter where you go, you still have to do your own work.
100%.
Which is really good. What type of scholarship did you get, and did your grades, did your academics play a factor in your recruitment?
So I got a full ride. So in my mind, you think like everything's free, which it was. But then I had some weird things I had to pay for when I got there. Like they couldn't pay for my books and they couldn't pay for like international taxes. So I didn't find that out until I kind of was there, sort of thing. And that was probably an extra like 2,000 to 3,000 each year, which I ended up getting figured out like through family and whatnot eventually. But that was definitely something like, I kind of got blindsided with, you know what I mean? Not in a bad way, they didn't like hide it or anything like that. But there's just things that you don't know until you get to the school that is outside of the basketball program's control. You know what I mean? Like they don't know this thing. That was the first time they had a kid from England, you know what I mean? They didn't know about certain rules or whatever. So I was on a full scholarship. I think my school to attend as a normal student was over $30,000 a year. It was a private school, private Lutheran school. So quite like, rich kids and stuff like that. And then I just kind of got plopped in there and it was definitely, it was definitely different. But it was pretty much, full ride, like full athletic scholarship.
What were your grades like? What were your academics grades like?
So I came back, I did my A-levels. My A-levels weren't too great because at the time I was playing for London Lions professionally. I was playing for Milton Keynes College. I was doing my A-levels, so I was balancing all these things. I really tried, I had twos and stuff, and I got CCE, but then my SAT result was good enough where like they use it as like a balancing scale. So like if you did bad in your A levels, you just got to do pretty good in your SAT. Or if you do good in your A levels, you can get a lower score in your SAT or ACT, whatever test it is. So I got into the school fine. It was, you know, I had to be slightly higher than usual, I believe, because it was a private school and they had like certain academic, you know, procedures and whatnot. But yeah, I didn't do terribly well in my A levels. I just struggled with that. I didn't like mess around or anything like that. Just some things, you know, like they don't work out, you know what I mean? But I did enough. I didn't fail anything. I passed everything. So yeah, I just got in, and once I got into school, like at Augustana, I finished with like a 3.0. So that's like an average of a B- at a private school. So yeah, like you can find ways to like kind of bounce back, kind of thing.
Nice. Okay, I like it. What question did you ask your college coach when you were being recruited? And are there questions that you feel like you should have asked?
Do you know what? I didn't ask as many questions as I thought I would, because I didn't have a school. So to me, this was like the first school. Yeah, you know, the first school that's really taken interest in me, want me there, like doing all they can to get me there, sort of thing. Whereas before it was like I was communicating with coaches that probably had different people as well, like, and whatnot. And no one ever actually saw me in person. It was all emails and GB summer highlights and whatnot. But what I would say is, a lot of coaches, I was fortunate enough with my coaches, but a lot of coaches are going to say what they have to say to get you there in the first place. A lot of players, you know, no matter what, you know, you're going to get promised minutes, you're going to get promised this and that until you're there. Because once you sign there, you're there. You know what I mean? Like, you can transfer after a year or whatever, but that becomes complicated for you. But their whole objective is to get you there. So you just really have to, there's nothing wrong with asking too many questions as a student or as a basketball player, because they should have the answers to them. You know what I mean? So I think, I can't say anything specific, but I definitely think you should, any parents you have, your parents have, like anyone around you, anything you think is so small or silly, I'll just recommend ask, because it's at the end of the day, you're moving from one country to another country. You're gonna be away from family and all this stuff, and you just need to make sure you know like what you're getting yourself into. So that's what I would definitely recommend from a question standpoint.
Definitely. There's a saying that no question is a dumb question. And I guess if you don't know, you just genuinely don't know. That's the joy about asking a question. Can you tell us what league you guys played in, and what type of play was generally found across the league? So was it a big man league, guard, dominant, up tempo, sets?
My league was the NSIC league, and in our region we was like national champs like 3 out of the 4 years that I was there. So I would say it was probably one of the best D2 conferences in the country. I just think we had a lot of talent across the board. There were some teams, there was never one team that didn't have like some sort of stud. You know what I mean? There was always a player that like could go off on their night or whatever. Our style of play particularly was fast, up tempo. As soon as we wanted to put 90 points on the board, and we played a lot of like side defense, which kind of disrupts a lot of players. So we was icing a lot of things and just keeping the ball on the side. That was the main objective of our defense, just keep the ball on the side, no middle penetration, things like that. A lot of the other teams didn't approach defensively like that. But yeah, I just think it was just very high level. A lot of teams in our conferences preseason would play D1s and would be beating them and things like that. So I just think the time that I was there, I just happened to be a part of something that, you know, was a very high talented league. But yeah, very fast paced league, I would say. Okay, good. What helped you to graduate and play? So I know you mentioned just before about your A levels not being great because you was playing and commuting training and then trying to study as well. Now, similar thing when you got to the stateside, you know, when you got to the States, you had to play high level basketball and you had to get your degree. So how did you manage to do it? So when I first got there, I was very overwhelmed because I was like carrying all my books around. Like, I'm like, reading all these pages every night, and like I'm still getting these average grades, and I couldn't understand how everyone else was so cool doing classes and basketball. But honestly, it's about how much effort you put in off the court. So for example, not just in the books, but like connecting with professors. So if you're struggling in a class, don't like think, oh, I'm a nerd for going to ask or whatever. If the teacher sees that you're putting effort, they understand that you're there for basketball at the end of the day. You know, they might think that you don't like education, but if you're going to like see them or like ask them questions like, yo, like, and being brutally honest and just asking for the help, that definitely helped me out with just kind of getting the balance right. Because I was doing way too much work with little reward. So I just kind of got my schedule down. Graduating, like I had this one tough class. I never retook a class, but I had this statistics class, man. It was killing me. And I tried to sweet talk, but you know, like with the basketball, like, he was not a guy. He did not care about sports. He didn't care about anything I had to say. So like that one, I just had to get a tutor. I had a tutor for the whole semester, like every day. And at the end of the day, like you're there for basketball, but you want to have something to show from it after. You know, basketball's not going to last forever. And now, like, you know, that class literally killed me. I got like a C+ or a B- in that class. And I was over the moon. Like, people have mental breakdowns from that statistics class, man. So yeah, I just think, again, like, it's quite cliche, but at the end of the day, you get out what you put in. If you seek the extra help, and also like you ask your teammates how they're, you know, some of them might share classes or have had similar teachers or professors. Ask them how they work, or talk to your coaches and tell them like, look, I'm really struggling in this class. They might reach out to that professor and organize, you know, tutoring or one-to-one sessions and things like that. So if you apply yourself, there's definitely the resources, because at the end of the day, the basketball coach doesn't want you to be failing class either, because they want you to play. So, you know, everyone's helping everyone in that situation.
Yeah, and just to kind of pin down on that point, you need to be passing your grade. You need to be doing academically well for you to be able to get on the court. So, yeah, you know, it's in your best interest, the coach's best interest.
Like, I was never a school guy. I don't like school, you know what I mean? But, you know, there's things in life you don't like doing, but you have to, if you want to do other stuff, you have to do it. As simple as that. Like, no one's going to, once you get to college, no one's going to baby feed you like, oh, please, like, go to this class. If you don't go, there's going to be someone else that's going to play. There's going to be someone else in your scholarship. Like, so, you know, like, no one's going to baby feed you. Like, you know, I don't know how the programs are in here in England, because once I left, it was when all them, like, Charmwoods and my stuff and all them kind of things started, like, really getting going and barking and whatnot. So, yeah, I couldn't tell you how it is in this generation, like, the new and up-and-coming kids. But, yeah, you kind of get out, you have to, you know, you can't be spoon-fed.
Are there any hacks? Are there any like cheats, stuff to kind of make work easier, or is there stuff that you did to kind of make your workload a little bit lighter?
I mean, there's always someone that knows something, you know what I mean? You just have to, you have to network. You have to network, you know what I mean? All I say is don't be timid when you get to school. Like, there's, you know, like I was because I was from England, it was such a culture shock where I came like from England to I went to like the country. So I didn't relate with a lot of people, and I just stuck to myself. So I was like, nah, this is dead. Like, I'm not feeling these people. At the end of the day, like, then I started talking to people and whatnot, and I'm like, oh, someone else has the homework, or like, hey, I took him last semester, he takes the same test and stuff like that. Like,
okay.
You know what I mean? Like, it's not always the case, but it definitely helps, like, knowing the teacher's tendencies and like people that have taken him before, like, yo, don't take this class, like, because he's hard. Like, there's, you know what I mean? Like, there's definitely a lot of like nuances that you can, you know, figure out. But that's more of once you get on campus kind of thing. That's what I would say.
Figure it out, yeah. Okay. I've experienced some of that too. You know, you have guys talking and they don't take it this semester, take it next semester.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, I like that. So as a junior, you was pretty well known back home. You was pretty much the guy in Milton Keynes. And then when you make that transition from being the man at home and, you know, starting spots on 40 minutes, what was it like transitioning to your new role as a freshman in college now? How did you deal with I guess not getting as much playing time, not getting as much freedom to do what you want on the offensive end. Talk to us about that.
I think the biggest, like, my situation was so unique. I like, when I got there, I thought I'd be okay. I think in the game in England, at the time when we was young, I couldn't make the pick and roll reads like I do in college. Like, we was doing pick and roll drills all the time. I could always pass the ball, but the speed of the game, I was so behind. Like, the actual physical up and down, I wasn't in that kind of like shape. I wouldn't say, shape. I wasn't in that kind of shape. I just didn't play that way. So yeah, it took time to adjust. But so the very first, we had a preseason game. I get some minutes, but I played nervous. I played very nervous, had like 3 turnovers, didn't play well. Our very first game of the season, I'm expected to come off the bench, like, you know, as a freshman. We had a young team as well. So it wasn't like, oh, he's a freshman, there's all seniors. We had like sophomores and juniors, and the rest was a freshman point guard as well. So our point guard had the flu, like, so they had no choice but to start me. Okay. And in that game, we had 2 games in 2 days. First game I had 19 points on like 5 of 7 shooting and like 4 assists. I had a great game. And then the very next game, I had like 10 assists and then like, you know, a few points here and there, whatever. But from there, I started every game in my college career after that. Like, it was a fortunate time because I wasn't planning. They weren't going to start me. I wasn't very confident, like, because I knew I had the ability. I knew I could play with these guys. Like, I played with the pros and whatnot. I knew I could play, but I didn't feel it at the chances I had, I didn't show exactly what I had, like, you know, what I've got. And it can be like that in college. You know what I mean? Like, if you don't show up, like, for a few games, the coach isn't going to believe in you, or, you know, you haven't shown what you got. Like, it's cutthroat like that. But yeah, I was fortunate and blessed to have, you know, he was like one of my best friends as well at the time. They ended up starting us both together. So we had 2 point guards in the backcourt. Yeah, he was 2 point guards in the backcourt our whole career. He was like 6'6", skinny guy, like lanky point guard, like should have played pro, but he's married now and all that. But yeah, like I just got lucky with my situation, to be honest. Yeah.
Yeah, that's good. No, it's weird when you go into a situation, and I guess when you said you was nervous in that pregame, to have that change in role, because I guess when you was in training and practice, you were trying to mentally gear yourself for coming off the bench or, you know, reduce minutes and stuff. So you know, for it to go the opposite way for you and it to go well, I mean, yeah, it's fortunate. The knowledge that you have now, if you were to redo 3 things in your college experience, what would they be?
Sounds bad because I'm professional, but I would have put in more work than I did individually. Mm-hmm. So like, I would do everything that was needed, you know what I mean? But being a kid from England and you're on the basketball team and all this kind of stuff, like we was at the top of our game, like we was the best team in the country, like all this kind of stuff. So, you know what I mean, on weekends, like we'd go party after games and whatnot. Nothing like, that's what college kids do, innit? Like, you know what I mean? Yeah. But I had a teammate that we didn't click off the court, but on the court, we was like, you know, we was good. And he would never know this now, but I like look back and I'm like, this guy was the guy I looked up to. Like he would work out on, like after a game, like all this kind of stuff. Player of the year, D2 player of the year, like All-American first team, looking for NBA Summer League tryouts, all this kind of, like he was a beast, you know, like absolutely couldn't stop him one-on-one in a block. And yeah, I would definitely just change my kind of, my workouts a little bit more. I would definitely have networked more after. So my university is a great university for like jobs and all this kind of stuff. I was just so excited to go and play pro. Like I was ready to dip. Like I was just like, I can't wait to get out of here kind of thing. But I did, like I built some great relationships, long-time relationships. And I just think if I applied myself to the school a lot more, I could have left an even bigger legacy. Like I'll always be kind of known around, like I was the English guy that won the national championship with that team that had great success. But I think if I did more stuff off the court as well, like in the community or like with my school and things like that, I think looking back, like, you know, I think that would have been a good thing as well, just for myself. And third thing, I mean, I can't change this, but I would, the school itself, man, the first day I got there was minus 28 degrees. So I was already figuring out what school I was trying to transfer to and all that kind of stuff. But yeah, I can't really change that. I'm struggling on a third, but yeah, man, I tell you, the first day I got there was minus 28 degrees. And I was just like, my dad was like, put your head in the freezer and you can get used to that kind of weather, you know what I mean? Like, but nah, yeah, honestly, yeah, I don't like to think that way, but like, you know, like everything, I feel like everything happens for a reason.
For a reason,
but obviously, you know, there's a couple things that I do think I could have tweaked or whatever.
What could you?
But yeah, at the end of the day, I always think everything happens for a reason. So yeah, I can't give you a
South Dakota's cold as hell. So
cold, man. Like you walk outside, you get brain freeze, like from the wind and stuff like that. It was just ridiculous. But yeah.
Being a European player in the US, did you have to face any stigma due to, you know, being from England? So, you know, there's a stereotype that goes around that European players are soft or not as good. Like, did you have to face any of that? Did you hear any of that stuff?
Oh yeah, like they just don't even think. Like I'm trying to tell them about our league in itself, like the BBL or whatever. You know, they got no idea. They don't. Yeah, there's no real respect. Like, whenever there's like a European player that does something in the NBA, they're like, oh yeah, you must think he's good. Like, or whatever. Like, there's just little stuff. But you know, even my coach as well. Like, yeah, like sometimes would say some stuff, but then also like they also like benefited from being European, so they knew that I had a little bit more IQ or like some fundamentals, more of the fundamentals. So like. That stuff was the good part, but like, yeah, definitely the strength part, they thought we were soft for sure. But yeah. I mean, it goes both ways really. Like, well, we say Americans got no fundamentals and like no IQ, they're just athletic. Like, you know, it goes back and forth, I feel like.
What's the best part of playing collegiate basketball?
Oh man, everything, you know, like honestly, I think at the time, I didn't appreciate as much as I do now. Like, we would have 2 free, like I'm talking about, it goes from the fans to the community. It's like you're living like a rock star lifestyle. I'm not even kidding, because like, in a way, like obviously you've got school and stuff, but you're going on, you know, you're going on road trips to games, you're getting fed, you know, all your food, you're getting fed everything. You got 2,000-3,000 people at your games, you know, like signing autographs and stuff at this young age. Like, it's all the things that like you kind of, I was just in a perfect situation. Like, I'm very fortunate. Like I ended up at Augustana, but I think, yeah, just the way you're treated, you're quite spoiled, to be fair. Obviously, you know, there's the argument about NCAA and paying athletes and whatnot. Like, obviously we could get into that, but compared to other students, just comparing it to other students, like normal students, it was like, yeah, we was just treated so nicely. And I think like, you have no excuse then not to play well or not to like give your effort. You know what I mean? Like, when you really think about it, there's kids that are dying just to be on the practice team, or like just to be at practice, just to come on a road trip, just
to be a walk-on.
And then just to be you have to like, you really have to check yourself sometimes. There's a lot of times like there was actually a guy, Vince McCauley, coach of London Lions. He kind of told me before I go, write 10 reasons why you're going. And anytime you think like, you know, you get too comfortable or whatever, look back at that list and 10 reasons why. And that really helped me out, because sometimes I got a little too big headed or even too low. Like sometimes I was low, and I'd always refer to that list and like, you know, always try to like remain focused on like why I'm here and then like kind of what I want to achieve.
That's dope. I like that. Did you have it like pinned up on your wall or somewhere? Did you?
I had it on my iPad. I took an iPad with me. I kept it on my iPad. And at the time, because I didn't have an American phone, that was my main way of communicating. And I still have the list on my iPad right now if I charge it up. But yeah, that definitely, it really did help, because like when you're writing it in the moment, these are things that obviously matter to you and your future. So when you refer back to it, it's kind of like, oh damn, like, yeah, I wrote this and this is for me. So like, you know, I got to either fix up or, you know, I got to have some confidence in myself. That's how I kind of looked at it.
Might try that, man. I might put me a list on this wall. I like that though. It's a really good idea. So you mentioned about playing in front of, you know, fans and stuff. What was that like? You know, we don't really have that many, you know, unless it's like a cup final in England or, you know, league finals, player finals. You don't really get that much fans at games. So talk about, you know, home games versus away games, guys shouting stuff at you. Like, what was that like, the fan experience?
It was funny. Away games, yeah, I'd always get some English reference. So they'd shout like tea and crumpets, red coats, some like war that happened. Like just go back home, like this ain't London, whatever. Me personally, as a player, I love it. Like I absolutely love it. When I was, because I grew up getting coached by Nigel Lloyd, who like himself would tell me enough stuff to make you want to quit anyway. Like, so I had a kind of heart. Like I was cool with whatever was coming, but then like home games, yeah, like you're getting like 2,000-3,000 fans, and like we was one of the like top 5 in D2, like better attendance than like 50% of D1, stuff like that. Like it was like like they show the statistics each year, and like it was just great. Like you're seeing all your students, you're seeing like community people, you're getting stopped in the street. Like yeah, there's no complaints. And then you just really appreciate it when you go to away games and you're getting like I mean, when we was on top, like they would always sell out. Like this would be their like, you know, sellout game. Like we had one game against a rival, they had hot tubs on the baseline. So it's called I Hate Winter Night, right? And like it's like in February, we was ranked 2 in the nation, we hadn't lost, we was on a 19-game win streak, and we hate these guys and they hate us. And they have number 1 attendance in D2, so they had like 5,000 people there. And yeah, it's called I Hate Winter Night. So everyone's dressed up in like, you know, shorts, bikini tops, all that kind of stuff. On the baseline, they have this hot tub, and people are in it during the game. People are in it during the game, like putting you off and whatnot. Like it's not what you want, because it's like fat guys wearing like cowboy boots and like all that kind of stuff. Like, but yeah, like it was just like college. You can't make it up. You know what I mean? Like it's just the craziest stuff happened. But yeah, I Hate Winter Night. That was a fun night, and we actually lost that game. Ended a 19-game win streak, and then that was the year we won the national title, and then we won 19, went on another 19-game win streak and won the whole thing. But
so those fat guys in the boots did their job, huh?
Yeah, they did. I'm not gonna lie, they did. They did. Our big guy, yeah. We didn't play well that game, but you know, it happens. But America just do everything different. You know what I mean? Like it's very like in England, you gotta beg people to come to games and all this kind of stuff. Whereas in America, it's like a community. It's like it's the motive. Like, oh, what we doing tonight? Oh, yo, the basketball game's on. Like, let's go there and then or football, American football. Let's go watch the football game. And I really like that, because even me, like, I went to all the other sporting events and I'm like going crazy, because it's like you all support each other, which I really liked about being out there.
Yeah, it's a different type of community, and I guess the fanfare is so engrossed. There's so, like, you know, the school pride or community pride or state pride. Do you know what I mean? And it just gets bigger and bigger and bigger. You go from, you know, basketball pride to school pride. You know, the rivals, and you got like a school from down the road is crazy. And then, you know, you talk to people about, you know, state versus state, and you know, it's crazy, man. I love it myself.
Some people take it serious. Like people are like, them big time schools and stuff, like they are serious about their sport and like their school and whatnot. You see all sorts of stuff going on in the crowd sometimes, like, or even on the street. Yeah, like if you're a state or versus a university school, like it's serious there.
I remember I went to Florida in 2007. I went with one of my guys, and I think that was the year that Joakim Noah and them was in the finals. Yeah.
And
I remember, like, we was walking around and everyone was just shouting, "How about them Gators?" And
how about them?
It was nuts. I was like, that was my first time actually taking in and understanding. I wouldn't even say I understood college basketball, but like the fanfare was just so wild. You'd go into stores and shops and stuff. And it's just, how about them Gators? Everywhere. It was nuts.
It's fact. Yeah.
We kind of touched on it already, but what's the weather like in South Dakota?
Yeah, there's 2 seasons, summer and winter. That's it. So like in the winter, it'll be like 6 feet of snow one day, then 0 degrees, and then like -15. Like the temperatures you can't comprehend like until you're in it. Like, but then in the summers, like it's really nice, like 30 degrees, 35 degrees. So like the weather I can just describe as bipolar, really. Yeah.
Okay. Do you have like earthquakes, tornadoes, like any extreme weathers?
Not that I was there. They had a really bad like storm, that like ice storm. So like trees are like breaking off breaking off and all sorts, because obviously like they freeze, they snap, and like, so I know a year before I got there, like everyone like was locked in their houses for like 2 weeks because of like the snow and whatnot. But yeah, no earthquakes, nothing like that really, no.
Okay. Must-see destination of your state or your town, or local to where it was?
Mount Rushmore, with the president's faces.
Yeah.
That was in South Dakota. I think that's the main tourist attraction that they got there. Yeah, there's not too much going on.
Did you go and see?
Yeah. I went, and then I had a little. 4 of my close friends flew out to see me one summer, and I took them on a road trip all the way around America, like 5 different states. Just like, it was a crazy time. But yeah, we ended up going to Mount Rushmore as well. So
yeah, that's dope. The best place to get food?
Texas Roadhouse, I think. I don't know. There's not too much. There's nothing like that's exclusively in South Dakota, like that you're not gonna get in other states. You know what I mean?
Well, if it's a chain, then what's the best? What would you say is the best place? If I gave you $50 right now, and I said, hey, you've got 1 meal. Go.
Oh, do you know what? I can't remember the name, but I know I can tell you exactly. It's a Brazilian restaurant, right? Mm-hmm. And I paid $30 for this, and you can get your food up on the side, whatever. You have this button, right? It's like red on one side and green on the other. Mm-hmm. And if it's green, there's people walking around at all times with different types of meat. I'm talking steaks, sausage, beef. And when I say it's the most perfectly cooked food, like meat, like it's like crazy, and like until you turn it red, they're just gonna keep coming with different stuff. And then they had like this pineapple dessert, this cinnamon pineapple, like roasted, like, oh yeah, that was like, if I was feeling real bougie or like something to celebrate, that was like, yeah, you have those moments in college, like once a year or so, you might have saved a couple weekends, like didn't go out or something, and yeah, you'd go there, like, I can't remember. I'd have to look at it. It's a Brazilian restaurant though. Crazy.
Okay, I'm feeling that. Best place to get new kicks?
Online. You ain't got no choice in South Dakota. You got like, they had a Foot Locker, but that was like the, when you get Jordans, yeah, but you like, they're like the Jordan flights. You know what I mean? There's no 11s or anything like that. It was rough, man. Like honestly, there was Foot Locker and like I'm trying to think of the other main ones they had there, like Dick's Sporting Goods, like all that. Like there was nothing going on there. Nah. Yeah, you have to get it online for sure. ID.
Okay, what was your favorite American holiday and why?
Thanksgiving, because you get like, obviously around that time you're in season for basketball. So we don't normally go home. So like other holidays like Christmas and stuff, you go home with your family and whatnot. But this is what we had practice all 4 years, and like, so we normally did stuff together as a team. So like one parent might like have the whole team round, or like the coach might have the whole team round or something like that. And then you're just eating so good. So like, I'd say while I was there, Thanksgiving was it. It was definitely it.
Seems to be a favorite. Did you get homesick, and how did you deal with that?
At the beginning I was pretty homesick, but I'm not, like, my mental was so like, I've got so many people but I've always wanted to do this, you know what I mean? I've got people back home that have helped me get here, like my mom and whatnot. So for me to be homesick was like, I felt like selfish in a way, you know what I mean? Because I've got an opportunity that I've always wanted. I wasn't ever like homesick, like I just miss the little things about England, like seeing my family or just like the humor or things like that. But do you know what? To be honest, I FaceTimed, my friends and family so much, like it was okay. I kind of figured it out because a few years before I went to high school in LA for a year or two.
Mm-hmm.
So I've been used to kind of being away from home and kind of doing exactly what I've, always planned to do, like get to college, get a scholarship. So yeah, like I never went through any crazy episodes, but it was just more like here and there. Like there was one or two Christmases I didn't go home. I had to stay because it's just too expensive for me, like our family. So one time my teammate took me, and that was a bit, spending Christmas with, not random people, but not your family was a bit different.
Yeah.
But Americans, man, like they bought me presents. I was like, I probably got more presents than I would get home. Like, I was just like, yeah, it was honestly, everyone was so welcoming and stuff. So yeah, I was never too bad, to be honest.
Okay. What's the time difference between South Dakota and England?
6 hours. Behind 6.
Okay,
Yeah.
nice. What was your level of independence before you got to university? So what could you do, or what did you need to do in order to be okay on your own out there? So like washing, cooking, like...
Yeah, do you know what? I didn't really have to do much of that because I was always living at home with mum. So, but when you get to college, I think a lot of people are in the same situation as well. So like washing my clothes, I think I was lucky because I couldn't cook. I had to learn that first year of playing pro. Like, you know what I mean? Like I didn't have, never had to cook for myself. So I could cook the basics, but yeah, not too much. But I think what it was, once I got here, I never had someone looking over my shoulder. I was very responsible for myself. So it was either down to me if I succeeded or failed. You know what I mean? I couldn't put the blame on anyone else or like this situation, because in all honesty, like you have enough tools to succeed, like, from the coaches and friends and whatever, family and resources at school. So yeah, like I think the biggest jump for me was just actually like being thrown into the deep end and like, all right, now it's like, what to do, now you have to do it. Like, you know what I mean? Like that was all that was. It was just all of a sudden like it's happening now, you know what I mean? We've been talking about it for so long, but now it's happening.
What would you say are the necessary skill requirements to being on your own in America?
Obviously it depends on your own, like how much responsibility you carry on your own already. But I don't think you can over communicate. Like if I had any issues, like even like down to like washing or whatever, I'll just call my mom up like, yo, how do I like, you know what I mean? Like, how do I do this or whatever? Or like friends or like, even YouTube. YouTube has the answer for everything now. Like, I just like, yo, how do you cook this? Just go on YouTube. Like there's Google and YouTube has saved a lot of people from stress, like for sure. So I just think like, you just have to like ask or look it up really. Pretty much.
I can't even imagine just going on YouTube how to cook oxtail and rice and peas.
Yeah, a lot of those things I just had to give up with. You know what I mean? Like I just stayed in my lane.
Stay in your lane.
Yeah.
So beans on toast was fire.
Yeah, spaghetti hoops.
What was the biggest adjustment to the American culture?
For me, it was being around so many white people, in the sense of like my school in like I live with my mum who's white, like that. I'm not like talking like numbers. It was just more like my secondary school in England was a good balance. You know what I mean? Like most schools in England, there's a good balance of culture. My school, the only black people that were there were international students from Africa that like were from like Ethiopia or whatever and doing like computers or whatever. So like that was in its own kind of section itself, like, and then American football players that came in on scholarships or half scholarships. So no one that was black really went to the school just to go to the school. And I was the only black guy on the team, well, guy of color on the team for the first 2 years. Not even, everyone was white and from South Dakota or like Wisconsin or Minnesota. So yeah, just the cultural difference there, like in music, dress sense, the way I talk, like definitely like was different. But then, do you know what? At first I rejected it because I was really like, wow, this is just different, man. I'm not really like trying to know these people. They're weird, or like they don't get what I'm saying. But then I kind of opened up and I was like, all right, let me just like, I'm going to be here for 4 years, you know what I mean? Like, and by the end of it, like, if anything, I think everyone learned a lot more from me, because English, a lot of Europeans are more diverse, you know what I mean? We see different people, different backgrounds.
Yeah, all the time.
So we're not as closed-minded. Where I was in the country, I was like in the like, you know, the like conservative area, Republicans. So a lot of my teammates, like, I helped open their eyes to different things. You know what I mean? And like, I think that was the best thing. I love learning about different people, because people come from all types of different parts of the world. And I think, yeah, like that was the best part. But yeah, it was just the general culture was just completely different. Country music, like all that kind of stuff, man. Yeah, it was crazy. It was crazy.
Did the language back, and I've got a little bit of it going on here in New Mexico, but the language back, I mean, yes, okay, we speak English, but you know, trying to, you
have to adjust. You definitely have to adjust to them. You know what I mean? Like, I really hated having to change my words, innit? Like, I'm trying to think, like petrol station or like things like that. You just like, because you know every time you say something, it's gonna raise some eyebrows, and then be like, wait, what? Or whatever. You just like, I just gave in. I was like, yeah, the gas station, or like stuff like that. You know what I mean? Like,
going to the boot.
I just kind of gave into it. Yeah. Exactly. And I was just like, I can't be bothered. Like, at first it's fun, and oh, you're from England, but when you're getting it all the time, it just gets boring. So yeah, I just kind of adjusted to how they talked. Obviously, I never changed my accent, because I just don't get when people go there and then they come back speaking full American. I just don't understand it. Like, you're from England, you know what I mean? You're from England. You're from, you know what I mean? I just don't. That's the one thing that's unique about you. You're English. So why go and Anyway,
hey man, you know, the influence is strong. You know what I mean?
For sure. Like, I still sometimes like break out sometimes, but I think like once you'll come home for a bit, it'll snap out, sort of thing. You know what I mean? Once you get some yard food in you, you know what I mean, coach? You'll be, you know what I mean? You go down Brixton and get some yard food, yeah, you'll be back. You'll be back. But I understand. Yeah, you understand it. You understand it.
For real. Right, the big question that I always like, how did you deal with the distractions being in college? So obviously, as we said, you're away from home, you're completely independent pretty much. You know, you've got all these people that you've never seen before, all these cultures, it's a melting pot of things going on. And the big thing for young people is, you know, drugs, alcohol, and, you know, the opposite sex, you know what I mean? Or, you know, falling into love interest. So how did you navigate that, you know, being so far away from home and, you know, being on your...
I mean, definitely there's distractions every day. I got a story for you, like whether you keep it or not, we'll see. But like so like the drugs and the partying and whatnot. Yeah, you know, like I definitely had a couple practices that I was hungover from, and I paid the price for it. Like, you know, that probably will happen once in your career, if you like to have fun or whatever. You just have to be prepared for whatever, you know what I mean? If you're responsible for it. If you can't come to practice and play how you're supposed to play, the coach is going to know, you know what I mean? People are going to know. They have practice on New Year's Day and all that kind of stuff. But I actually got in trouble with some drugs once, me and another teammate. Dumbest decision I've made in my career, like, was we just wanted to, I've never smoked weed in season or whatever, but my teammate was injured and we had like a week off or something. So we was like, okay, like, let's smoke some weed. Like, you know what I mean? Like, a lot of athletes are gonna do it. A lot of athletes do it in college, on all sports teams, all the time. Like, whatever school you go to, 100% will happen. It just depends what you do, kind of thing. And this is where I messed up. Me and my teammate just had a little bit. We had some weed on us, and we put it under like a car tire that we was driving a car. And a campus safety officer caught us and he was just like, what's in the bag? And like, we just froze because obviously we were both international students. He was from Australia, I was from England. So like, we weren't like, yo, let's run or anything like that. We just kind of thought, fudge, like, like this is gonna get bad.
Yeah.
And it got bad. Like we like got arrested. We got taken, because in South Dakota, like like California, if that happened, take it away, slap on the wrist. South Dakota is one of the worst. You got to know your states. Like you should know the law anyway, but that was one of the worst states you can. It was the tiniest bit, not even worth like bragging about. It was terrible. Like, and yeah, we went to jail, jumpsuits, face shots, all this stuff. Like we was criminals. Like it was.
No way.
I'm telling you, me and not a lot of people, no one really knows about this. I told like obviously people that need to know, but obviously like I mean if it's a teaching point, I'm happy to share it. Yeah. So like me and a teammate, we was in the back of the car, I'm crying, I'm like, yo, this is my career over, this is my life over, like this is crazy. So we end up going to jail overnight. We're like 4 a.m, we're like, yo, let's just call the coaches because they're gonna find out. Like we're like, look, we have to call them up. They picked us up, didn't say a word to us. And then the next morning we got a text like, the coach is going to speak to you tomorrow. So in that time, I hadn't eaten food. I felt sick. Like I was just like, we're done. We're going to get sent home. Because this is when we were really good as well. So I was a starting point guard. Like we were supposed to win the national championship like the year before we didn't. So yeah, we got meet the coach. I only think because I was a starting point guard, that's the only reason we was not kicked off the team. Otherwise, anyone else, anyone that was even a fringe player, 6-man or whatever, I just think deep down, he didn't want to, but because he knew that we was like gonna be that talented for the next couple of years, I got lucky and like I learned from my lesson. But then after that, coming back and forth into the country from America, they stopped me every single time. I had to go and get second screening, like, it was just a mess just because of this one stupid decision that I made trying to have fun, like one Saturday night, like, you know what I mean? And that honesty, like the report that came out, they said that I broke team rules. So I missed 2 games that weekend because we played 2 doubleheader. The other guy was injured, so they didn't have to, but we lost that game. That was only like one of 3 games we lost that year. We had our center playing point guard because like we had no other choice. Had to apologize to the team, had to tell my parents. Coach made sure I called he said like, call your mom, call your dad, tell me exactly what's happened. I had to tell them. Yeah, it was a horrible time, like for that time that it happened, you know, like my coach didn't dwell on it, you know what I mean? He was just like, once it happened, he was like, and I was punished for it, you know what I mean? Like, he didn't bring it up again and didn't like make me feel terrible about it because I already did myself. But yeah, that was one of the toughest times because I honestly saw I was like, all I've been working for my whole life, like I've had so many coaches back home and have told me all this stuff, you know what I mean? Like doesn't matter what they tell you till you're in the situation, you know, you're gonna have to make your own decision. And I made the decision that, yeah, I wanted to have, you know, get high that night and chill with my boy. Don't know who's watching, it backfired. So probably, I don't even know the current situation with me going to America. I think I can go now, like it's cleaned off my record and whatnot. But at the time, like it was just a mess. And it was something that like, yeah, I had to live with the whole time, like just because it was a sticky situation. So yeah, I was just fortunate enough to be in a good situation. But any other player, they're getting sent home. It's not worth it at all. It's not worth it. So
that's
yeah,
crazy, man.
There's my TED talk.
No, that's thanks for sharing, man. That's deep, and you know that just shows you how fragile it is in terms of, you know, it can be okay and, you know, nothing happens and it can go completely left. Was that the first time you tried it? Was that the first time you did it over there?
No, like I'm not like, you know, I'm not gonna be here like I'm a goody. Like in the summers and stuff, I would never do it in season because I don't get how players can do it. Like my chest, like, you know, like all that kind of stuff. But you know, recreation, like sometimes when I like be in the summer and stuff, yeah. In the school, I think I just got caught up in the moment. You know what I mean? Like it was definitely not like a thing that I'd regularly do. there's some guys that I knew on football team that would smoke the whole year, 4 years, never get caught, nothing would happen. You'd never know. But at the end of the day, like, no matter what you think, it's a risk. It's honestly a risk every single time. So, like, when I like look back on it, I've never touched it in season, never. I've been in the BBL, I've been tested twice, and both times I've been tested, someone that got tested with me has failed. So they've been banned. Like, one guy got banned 4 years, another guy got banned like a year. So like, it depends. Yeah, if you think it's worth it, then yeah, go ahead. Like, I was being that blunt. Like, if you think getting high for one night or whatever is worth it, then that's the risk you're willing to take. But if you're serious about basketball and the opportunity that's in front of you, just don't risk it, man. You got plenty of time in life to do it, like after and whatnot. So
After your career and all
yeah,
that. Man,
yeah.
Man, I really, really appreciate you sharing that story, man. That's man, awesome.
That's all cool, man.
And what about the girls, man? Hey, you mixed race, you know what I mean? You got that Chris Brown, Trey Songz thing going on. You know what I mean?
Right.
So how did you deal with that and trying to stay on top of your books and playing, man?
Well, like, I always had, I got told before I went there, yo, don't get anyone pregnant, and make sure you know you're there to play, like, after you're playing pro, like, because a lot of guys come over, they find their love heart, that, you know, their love of their life, then they end up staying there and there's no pro career and stuff like that after.
Married, yeah.
So I was lucky enough to be told all these things beforehand by pros and coaches at London Lions and whatever. But, you know, like, being English, like you said, like, being English and, like, you're on the basketball team and whatever, like, this and that, like, yeah, you know, they're gonna come at you. Like, I've seen situations, like, not for myself, but other situations, like, you know, you don't treat a girl right at the end of the night, they're gonna claim, you know, you don't know. They might say something that didn't happen or whatever. I'm not saying, you know, I'm just saying I've seen it. I've seen it happen to guys. And, like, at the end of the day, like, it depends if you find girls more important than basketball. Because to me, I always got told, like, girls are always going to be there. There's whatever country you're in, whatever you're doing, there's always going to be a girl there. But the opportunity that you have in front of you with basketball, there's a limited time on it. You know what I mean? Like, you might not get it again. So again, you just always have to check yourself. Like, is it worth it? You know, if they're helping you, like, you know, if you have a little thing like where you're doing homework together, you know, you just want to come back after practice, like, everything's cool. You know, that's cool, innit? Like, that's different, innit? Like, that's cool. But I would just recommend that you don't be out here going reckless and, like, yeah, for sure. But yeah, it's not wrong having a little boo thing on campus.
a little love interest.
A little boo thing on campus. Yeah, just be smart. Just be smart. That's what I say.
Play safe. Hey, this has been fantastic, man. What advice would you give to recruits and prospects that want to go to America? Like, what's the, you know, what advice would you give them? Uncle Spencer, what would you say?
Spenny. There's so many different angles from this because it's honestly down to the individual. Like, for me personally, when I was playing GB under 20s, I always wanted to go D1. All my team, like Luke Nelson, Lawson, Cavell, all these guys going D1. So I know I could play that level. And I always set my eyes on D1, so I never even thought about emailing D2s and whatnot. That's just from a recruiting standpoint. Like, I would say, like, make sure the situation is right for you. Because you could go to a D1, you know, play about 5-10 minutes a game, but you need to develop as a player. If you want to continue after college, you want to develop as a player. You want to make sure that it's the right school for you, the right community, the right area. Like, there's so many different factors that you should take into account that I think you shouldn't just focus on the basketball side of it. You got to make sure it's the right place for you to grow as a person. Because between the ages of 18 to 22 is when you really, like, you're chucked into life. You know what I mean? We've been baby fed the whole way. And then once you go to America, like, it's a big step. You're by yourself more time. You know what I mean? There's a lot of different factors. And then also, if it's really what you want to do, you have to really gut check yourself, because America isn't always the best option for some people. You know what I mean? Some people just can't stay focused or can't, like, you know, you really have to check whether you want to do it. Is it something you can do for 4 years? Is it something you're willing to sacrifice, doing this on the weekend or doing that in the daytime and all this kind of stuff? Like, do I want to go to school for 4 years and try, like, if you're ticking all those boxes, then yeah, you just have to be 100% committed. but just understand that you're not like every other person. Like, you can't be doing everything that everyone else is doing. You have to be different. Like, and you see it in like motivational videos all the time, like how bad you want it, but it's really true, because there's always that next guy, there's always that next girl, there's always, you know what I mean? Like, there's always someone ready to take what is given to you. So I think a lot of my situations myself, I was just very fortunate, but then also I worked my butt off for it. You know what I mean? I worked my butt off for it. When I was doing my A-levels, I'll tell you my day, I was getting up at 6:30 to practice with my college, with MK College, from 7:30 till 9, go class all day, 9 till 3, A-levels, travel down to Crystal Palace for 7:30 practice, all the way to South London from Milton Keynes. That's a 2-hour trip. I wouldn't get home till 11:30 at night, and I haven't studied, I haven't eaten properly, you know what I mean? I'm taking food with me on the way. I did that for a whole year, and that was just to get to America, you know what I mean? And those kinds of things, like, you have to be built for, you know what I mean? You have to be built for that kind of work. So yeah, just gut check yourself, I would really say, because it isn't always for everyone. You might think it is, but it might not be, and that's okay, you know what I mean? Like, but just, if you're gonna do it, do everything with 100%. Don't, or they're like 80%, I be here, that sometimes. I've talked about in this video when the first thing I said I wish I did was put in some more work while I was there. You know what I mean? And that's talking retrospect. I'm pro now, like, I'm doing okay, you know what I mean? But at the end of the day, I'm looking back. I still was an All-American, but I'll never know exactly how high I could have got, because I had a good time, I met friends, all this kind of stuff that I don't regret. But it's just one of those things that you just gotta be all in. You just gotta be all in, that's what I'd say.
Some really great advice there. And just to kind of unpick it a little bit, do you think that the trade-off between you not putting in more work versus you being more social was beneficial? Like, you benefited more from being more social than not spending more time in the gym? Or do you think you could have achieved it both? You could have done more work as well as been just as social?
Yeah, I think I could have done both, because I definitely think a social part is important, because at the end of the day, college is supposed to be fun. You're supposed to meet friends that you will have lifelong relationships with. You know, there's a lot of things that you're supposed to do. So you gotta have some downtime and some chill time. So like, I've always been that fun guy. I like to have fun and stuff like that, but I don't think it hurt me in my game. I just think, like, for example, like, I was an All-American, I won a national championship, I ticked all the boxes. I'm a leading assist at my school that I don't think will get touched. Things like that, like, I'm just like, I'm happy. When I look back, I'm happy. But then I also think, could I put on a little bit more weight, a little bit more athleticism, and then got a summer league tryout? Or, you know what I mean? Those things I could just say I could have, I don't know. You know what I mean? Whether that's due to me not putting in a little bit extra work, I'll never know. But, you know, if you put in the work, you're going to get results at the end of the day. So that's what I would boil it down to, not opportunity, because the opportunities come if you put the work in, you know what I mean? So yeah, I wouldn't, again, like I said, I wouldn't change anything. Like, really, I had a great time in college. I done all I could do. We won all we could win. So in that respect, like, yeah, I'm truly blessed for that. But then, yeah, you always do have some questions. You always will. So
yeah, if I did this a little bit different, but yeah, fantastic.
Yeah.
Hey, my man, it has been fantastic. I knew there was a reason why I was so keen on having to sit down and talk with you.
I'm glad we can do it, man. I'm glad we can do it.
Absolutely fantastic. Can't wait to put this together and release it to the public. But yeah, thank you very much.
No problem, man. Hi, I'm Jordan Spencer. I appreciate you guys for tuning in to the EuroStepping. It's got great content. I think you guys are going to really enjoy everything that's been said. And stay safe out there.
The game was different, right? The rules was different. The ball was different.
The Euro style is different in America.
The Euro style was a lot different than America.
That's the first time y'all seen that Euro step too, huh?
Absolutely.